Oh my god, look at AMD stock. It has crossed $400 per share, up more than 18% in just one day. And guys, as I've been telling you over the past couple of months, if you've been following me, as you can see right here, 5 months ago, AMD is failing. Is this a buying opportunity? This was 5 months ago, when really, if you look at the stock right here, 6 months ago, so 5 months ago, the stock was at around $200. When it fell right here, I was doing the video right there, and I was telling all of you guys that my opinion is to buy the stock, and I was buying heavily the stock at that time. And look what happened since that time. The stock has more than doubled within just 5 months. So guys, really, if you enjoy such type of videos, please smash the like button, because it really helps grow the channel larger. So we will be discussing why the stock was up because of the earnings results, and we will be summarizing those results and how will they affect the stock, and my personal opinion for the stock's long-term perspective, and how much the price that I could potentially be selling some of my position for AMD. So welcome everybody to the Geeky Investor. This is Dr. Uwais, and I've been invested in the stock market for the past 8 years. Now let's dig right deep into this. So first of all, for the financial results, let's look at the revenue. First of all, from the earnings presentation. So this is really from Q1 2025 all the way into Q1 2026. As you can see, there is an explosive 38% growth year over year to reach $10 billion and $300 million for Q1 in just one quarter for AMD. And it was driven primarily by strong growth in their data center and client and gaming segment, with a return to growth in the embedded segment finally. So this was one of the key things that really moved the stock up. But then if you also go to the gross margins, as you can see, they improved from 50% to 53% on a GAAP basis, and on a non-GAAP basis to 55%. So that was also nice. And then if you go to the operating income, there is a very nice trend right there, an increase of almost $800 million in just one quarter to reach $1.5 billion in operating income on a GAAP basis, to $2.5 billion on a non-GAAP basis. And then finally, for the earnings per share, there is also an explosive growth right there as well. So with all these results, you can see a beat in revenue, a beat in earnings per share, a beat in operating and gross margins. All of that led to an increase in the stock. But it's not just those numbers, but it is also the outlook that we're talking about here that really made AMD grow with an 18% in just one day right here. So that was really, really nice to see. So really what they came up with is a couple of things. Now, first of all, I wanted to highlight one thing that really Lisa Su talked about, is that they had all key financial metrics contributing to stabilization and improvement in some financial ratios. And she said, quote, "We are seeing a meaningful acceleration in customer demand driven by the rapid scaling of AI workloads across both cloud and enterprise, and in both GPUs and CPUs." So this was really, really phenomenal for AMD investors. And then they also go on to say, if we focus on the CPU, the surging demand in the CPU, it was a couple of things. Now, as we know, with the CPUs over the last couple of months, we've seen a lot of growth in CPU demand, and that really led to Intel stock to be to increase all of that much in the past couple of weeks. But this is also affecting AMD. Now you can see AMD is benefiting from both CPUs and GPUs. And in one of the questions in the Q&A session, really one analyst was asking Lisa Su, will the growth in the CPU take some market share from the GPU segments? But the answer was no. It is an accretive increase in the CPUs and in the GPUs. So the overall total addressable market, or the TAM of CPUs, is increasing, while it is not eating away at the GPUs TAM. This was in the Q&A session of the earnings call, which I really listened to. It was more than an hour, and that was really, really essential for all the investors of AMD to listen to the investors call, because you will really understand and appreciate the tone of the management, their outlook, and what they think, and really understand the management perspective and their attitudes. So as we know, with the CPUs, they were expected to grow at a CAGR of 18% last quarter for the next 5 years. However, really the growth has accelerated and actually doubled to reach 35% compounded annual growth rate for the next 3 to 5 years. So as you can see, doubling in the growth of CPUs. And this was really consistent with what I've been telling you guys over the past couple of videos, is traditionally we know that there is almost an 8-to-1 ratio with 8 GPUs needed for just one CPU. Now it is more towards 4 GPUs to 1 CPU, so that is a doubling. But there is also, Lisa Su talked about a possible 1-to-1 ratio in some situations as well. So as you can see, there is a lot of CPU growth that is coming ahead. This was one of the things that really led to AMD stock grow and surge that much to reach 18% in just one day. And then another thing that really happened, and I quote here from Lisa Su, commercial was a key highlight in the quarter, with sell-through of Ryzen Pro PCs increasing more than 50% year over year. So that was also nice to hear. And then also I wanted to highlight the growth in the CPUs is not just coming, is actually coming from an increase in the unit sales, but not mainly from the increase in average selling price. Now, the idea is there is some increase in the average selling price of CPUs, but that is mainly coming, as per the CEO and CFO, is mainly coming from an inflationary point. But the main increase is coming from the number of units. And then Lisa Su went on to explain why their perspective, why they want to grow sales in units more than in average selling price. Well, the idea is if you grow more units, you can get more customers, more partnerships, and this leads to kind of gaining more market share, which would lead to potentially being able to increase your average selling prices later on, but then having more market share. So that is really essential. So they want to grow market share first, and then later on they might increase the average selling price, which is a very, very nice strategy. And that is one of the things that I really like about the management, and which really affirmed that the management of AMD is really, really kind of really different from others. They focus more on the long term, which is really the essential component right here. And then for the GPU side, as we know, the GPUs were really accelerating so fast because of this AI era that we're living in. And we know with the MI450, as I was talking about in our last video, we had to know what is coming for the MI450. And what they did is they have really committed to continued improvement in the MI450, and they said that there is initial volumes in Q3, so that is maybe July or August, that is initial volumes of MI450, and then accelerating significantly in Q4 and then Q1 in 2027. So as I was telling you guys in our last video, that we should be seeing some comments from the management, and that is what they delivered on. So really this earnings call was just so nice. All the results were good, the outlook was nice, and management really replied and answered most of the questions without even the analysts asking them. And then if you go on, and I quote from Lisa Su, as we approach production, demand for MI450 series GPUs continues to strengthen, with lead customer forecasts now exceeding our initial plans. That is really, really essential. Exceeding our initial plans and growing number of new customers. So that, guys, new customers are coming up. So we know with MI450, we've got OpenAI, we've got Meta, and all this 6 gigawatt kind of partnership. Then other customers are also potentially coming, including AWS from Amazon, including Alphabet. Those are potential customers that could be coming, because we know that AWS and Alphabet are kind of in partnership with AMD for the CPU side. If AMD is able to attract them from the CPU side into the GPU MI450 side, then that is a lot of acceleration for the revenue, which would lead to even more partnerships with more other companies. This would lead to more profits for AMD and then higher share price. So this was really, really good to see. And then also I wanted to add on and a quote from Lisa Su, increasing confidence in our ability to deliver tens of billions of dollars in annual data center AI revenue to reach more than 80% in the coming years. So 80%, guys, for the AI data center. As you can see, a lot of acceleration for AMD. So we have seen just a moment ago right here. So the revenue was increasing 38% year over year. But as you can see, the AI data center component is increasing 80% year over year. So that these are things that we really should be keeping an eye on. And then finally, for the take that I wanted to share in this video are 3 key takeaways. So number one, the earnings were really, really phenomenal, and the outlook was also phenomenal, which led to a lot of hype and good sentiment on AMD stock. That is number one. And then number two, there was an affirmation and an acceleration of the demand for the CPUs, which we were seeing over the past couple of weeks, which is, you know, an increase from 8-to-1 ratio to 4-to-1 ratio. So that is doubling in the demand for CPUs, leading to expected CAGR of 35% instead of 18% over the next 3 to 5 years. So that was the second key thing that came from the earnings. And then the third key thing that came is an affirmation of the MI450 that it is really on time and will come in the second half of 2026, beginning in Q3 2026. So that is July or August. And then also essential to notice that there could be more partnerships coming up with AWS, from Amazon, Google. So these things, if they really mature, then that would lead to more partnerships coming in the future, more profits, and AMD stock will just continue to rise. So my opinion, should you be buying or selling AMD stock? So my personal opinion, I think that AMD will continue and reach a share price per share between $600 to $1,000 between 2028 to 2030. Now, all of that really depends on the execution, the gross margins, and the growth that the company is really facing. I cannot pinpoint a number, but I would say it is more towards the 800s. That is kind of the base case. If you go more towards the bull case, it reaches $1,000 to $1,200 per share, and then the bear case would be more towards $600 per share by 2028 or 2029. Now, of course, things can run faster. So in my opinion, if the stock reaches $600 in 2026, so within just a couple of months, if it reaches $600, which is really a possible scenario right there, I could potentially be trimming some of my position. However, I am still holding the position as I have built a very, very large chunk of my portfolio over the past year. As I was telling you guys in our previous videos, as you can see, 5 months ago, I was telling you guys you should be buying AMD. That is my personal opinion. Now, you should also do your own homework. But guys, if you like this type of content, please make sure you smash the like button right here, and I will see you in our next video.